In the summer of 2024, Paul George made the move to the Philadelphia 76ers, a decision that sparked plenty of debate among fans and analysts alike. Some questioned the wisdom of giving a max contract to a 34-year-old with a long injury history, while others believed the signing gave the Sixers a legitimate shot at contending for a championship. Of course, as with most things in basketball, the truth seemed to lie somewhere in the middle. George made the team better, but was he really the piece that would push them over the top? That was the discussion heading into the season, but even the biggest skeptics couldn't have predicted just how much George would struggle. Looking at his last 6 games paints a concerning picture. 11, 9, 14, 12, 14, and then just 2 points in his final game before the All-Star break. Something is clearly off. Right now, George is averaging just 16.1 points per game, his lowest mark since his early years in the league. His shooting efficiency, a disappointing 54% true shooting. His offensive rating, a dreadful 104th. His usage rate has dropped to 24%, the lowest since 2013. His PER sits at 14.7, and his value over replacement player, VORP, is just 0.5, the worst of his career. To put things into perspective, since joining the Sixers, Paul George has uploaded more podcast clips, 228, than he has made field goals, 191. Even more insane, he's released 16 full podcast episodes, the exact same number as his points per game average. George is making over $50 million this season, yet playing some of the worst basketball of his career. And it's not just an individual issue. The Sixers as a whole are feeling the effects of his decline. To be fair, injuries have played a role. During the 2024 preseason, he suffered a knee hyperextension, causing him to miss the season opener. Later, he dealt with a painful bone bruise. Most recently, a finger injury on his left hand forced him to sit out 5 games. Reports even suggest that George had to take injections just to play through the pain, impacting his ball handling, catching, and ability to drive left. He's clearly doing everything he can to stay on the court, but the reality is obvious. He's not the same player anymore. Even if George were fully healthy, would he still be the same player? Honestly, I don't think so. Last summer, I argued that he was no longer a top 20 player, and now, he barely looks like a top 30 guy. His decline was already noticeable in his final season with the Clippers, but this year, it's even more pronounced. Just 16% of his shot attempts come at the rim, the lowest of his career. During his Clippers years, that number was between 20 and 27%. Meanwhile, 23% of his shots are now from long mid-range, the highest of his career. Translation? George no longer attacks the basket. Instead, he's settling for difficult jumpers, which hurts his efficiency. Beyond that, it's clear that his athleticism is not what it once was. He's lost that explosive first step, making it harder to blow past defenders. As a result, he's relying more on difficult pull-up jumpers and fadeaways, shots that demand much more energy and are far less efficient. His average shot distance this season is 18.04 feet, the highest of his career. Defensively, it's a similar story. A 4-time all-defensive team selection in his prime, George no longer has the same physicality or effort level to lock down elite scorers like he once did. He's simply not that player anymore. It's unfortunate, but at this point, it's hard to deny. Paul George just isn't the same guy. And for the Sixers, that could become a real problem moving forward.